Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the internet. That's where we are. This is PeakD&D. It's our Saturday morning live stream that we do every other Saturday, I think is what we're doing right now. I am Ben with PeakD&D, one of the players, and I am joined by my good friends, Max Serac, who is Illinsworth in this current campaign. Or is he? And,
we're done. We finished.
We're done now.
We've moved on.
And our good buddy behind all the technical wizardry that he had to perform today definitely passed that technical check. Tony Madonna, thanks so much for being here. The player of Gord, everyone's favorite and the heart of the team of PeakD&D.
More of a patience check, but
the brains, pancreas, and gallbladder of this operation, Nick Hale, our illustrious dungeon master. Nick, thanks so much. Good to see you.
I guess the pancreas does provide enzymes, so that makes sense.
I mean, it's an important organ. Don't forget.
I'll take it. I feel like Gord is the liver of.
I just detox everything.
Yeah, and it all goes through you. You keep us healthy and flowing.
Latest D&D fan casting project. Tell us what bodily organs the different members of PeakD&D are in the comments section.
What body part? Yeah. And boy, oh boy, it's Saturday morning. We hope you have your drink with you, your beverage of choice. Sorry for the late start, friends. So maybe we're now on to cocktails as opposed to coffee, but
Saturday morning brunch, yeah, sure.
Saturday morning brunch, mimosas, bottomless mimosas,
or Bloody Marys,
and some waffles.
But 18 hours ago,
we have a show for you today. We are excited to talk about the finale of our Beyond the Feywild campaign and wrapping up on campaign 1, which combined two sort of partial campaigns into the Fey. We started with our good buddy Luke Hart, who's hosting Laracon next weekend in Pensacola. So we'll be there. We're very excited. Well, 3/4 of us will be there. We replaced Max with Nick's wife for the trip. Just honestly, to see how that dynamic plays out.
It's a good trade. You guys chose well.
And so we'll be there next week. We'll be posting we have a new video coming out on Saturday. You check us. We're going to try to be doing social media stuff. We're terrible at that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, why do you think I brought Nick's wife?
I mean, that's a true statement.
Oh yeah, no, we are awful at. I mean, that's why.
Yeah, no, we're terrible at social media.
If we're going to be able to pull off that level 3 video, I think that is okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I look.
That's why I was sort of bringing that up. We are terrible at.
Oh, the tease. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. And not only is there the end of Beyond the Fey and the whole story arc with all those characters and stuff, but there was also the Rose Up that could be discussed. And to that point, Ben, my hero, man, so calm, cool, collect under pressure. I know internally you were roiling at what was happening in our technical difficulties, but I was even watching for it. When we premiered it, I was scrutinizing to see the sweat and
you did good, man.
On my giant ass forehead. Sure.
Exactly. Way better than I would have done. There would have been far more swearing and far more
honestly, in my memory there was. I watched it back again too, and I was
inside.
What is going where did I go?
You checked out.
Because normally when I get frustrated and things aren't working right, I'm just a mess. I'm swearing, I'm throwing things, and then I was maybe that's my other job. But
definitely is your other job. But I also think that's where the cameras help, right? What we talked about being focused and all that stuff too is the same scenario. Probably subconsciously, you're I'm on camera, so internalize.
Yeah, Ben, I also felt super bad because I don't know if I'm misremembering this, but I remember when we were getting together to start to film the Rose Up Gauntlet this year, and we were discussing, all right, is there any circumstance under which we will stop the timer? Or are we on full
we had that
time?
Discussion.
And I seem to recall Ben was well, maybe we should leave ourselves a little bit of room in case there are technical difficulties.
Just
and
in
we
case.
were all nah, we're gonna for it.
It's gonna be fine.
I mean, but I think it was better for it. Like I like the soccer time, and there's like that's the beauty of like doing it live, essentially, right? Is that like things go wrong.
Yeah, sometimes you get to see one of the wires that's holding Cirque du Soleil up. It just
exactly.
Yeah, man.
So, but I got the final blow once again, so that was nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah, that was a good
action
good way
surge
to end it.
for the win.
I don't know how that ends up happening, but it just
does.
And it's very fitting too. I think it's important.
Oh, we're great. With less than 90 seconds on the clock, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's why I was like, this now or never. Action surge. Let's get 3 more hits in.
That was a good call.
That was a good choice, man. It was.
No. Yeah.
I think maybe I had a backup move left in me, but I probably just would have like tried to do as much damage as possible. I probably would have done another breath weapon attack and like just stabbed him a bunch.
No, that's why I was like trying to figure out hit point. Like I was just going to use the highest, like a 5th level spell slot for sleep and see if that was going to work.
Even if you put me and him and Ben to sleep, it wouldn't matter at that point.
But then like under the clock, it was like, okay, add up like 16 D8. I'm like,
also true.
Right.
In 90 seconds, go.
5, 4, 3,
120 damage. I think ultimately it came down to Tony, you were our last hope. Like if you didn't do it in that turn, I don't think we would have made it.
That's probably true.
That's actually good because like I actually was talking to Nick before you guys logged on the call that I was curious what he had planned for the Avatar. So had we failed, which we were 90 seconds away, what would have happened?
So I didn't want it to just be, the timer ran out, you all die in a cutscene. I wanted it to be like something real and potentially survivable.
Yeah.
So what I did was I looked at the stats they had for the Avatar of the Slime Lord Jubileex, which I think was in Princes of the Apocalypse, but I'm not sure about the citation.
I think that's right. Yeah,
I found it on Beyond. I'm not sure where it's printed, but I started with that, and I kind of tweaked things out to make it more appropriate to the specific deity that you guys were going up against, and I just had that ready to go. So I could have put down a CR 22 monster for you. And just said, all right, well, Slime God's here. What would you like to do about it? And then we would have seen how it played out from there. It probably could have killed you all, but then again, maybe not. You guys have pulled incredible feats off before, so maybe you would have still killed it and saved the day anyway.
We are full of bullshit.
But we would have been low HP and spell slots gone.
Yeah,
so
I think the dungeon itself did a pretty good job of wearing you guys down. Which was, hopefully neat, which is always nice. It's the intent.
I mean, ace in the hole, you let me keep the Vorpal sword. Would that have been a possibility?
Oh, certainly.
There we go.
I did let you keep the Vorpal sword because, it's kind of...
Just roll a 20 on the Vorpal sword.
Yeah. Just,
and
Hail Mary and just keep swinging it.
Yeah. I think in the next one, I'm going to play an anti-ooze cleric. I think I'm going to... because that thematically makes sense.
Or like
I just wanted to play...
A druid of the desert, like some dry climate.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Something to do. I always like something to do with the plane of air. This one was more about force. Indigo was, but it was just fun, and I was like, I'm never gonna get a chance to play this character. So
I don't know, man. He was great.
Until he was. I felt very unnecessary. Like I was there to buff and I did a little bit of damage, but
I mean, to be fair, you also passed like 4 turns, so
I didn't do anything at the end, but I did get to run in there and I I got to sprout my little spectral dragon wings and like fly up to the bad guy. That was kind of fun.
Some cool shit with that character.
But I mean, between what Iron Lung and Tony Warrior is capable of doing, like, holy crap, I felt outclassed at every turn. I was like,
That's
holy
fair.
crap,
I see what you mean.
You guys are monsters.
Fair. Yeah, no, dude, that build is awesome.
That counterspell stuff that you were like,
that was
that I was cheating with. Yes, no, it's always better when you can cheat.
I think I only cheated once.
It balances out. He was also cheating with counterspell.
Yeah, yeah.
But we were also under the clock, so it was
It's true.
Absolutely.
It was hard
I
to
kind of
look
look
up
the
the
damn
rules.
thing up. It's like, oh no, we're doing this.
Well, and also
No,
like
you get a counterspell off too. It's fine.
part of that selling point for Iron Lung was like laziness, because like I didn't want to have to go through and choose like new magic items, but also like from the first rows up. And like, oh, Helm of Brilliance, that could be handy. Like, oh, a Wand of Lightning and a Wand of Fireball. Like, oh, and a timed dungeon. Like, these sound. Yes, exactly. Like,
Lock
okay,
and load, man. We got stuff.
exactly, exactly.
Had his strap of like magical items on a bandolier, just like
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, totally.
He's a
Shoot through
warforged.
him.
He could build them all into an arm gun, like a Gundam.
Oh, that's so cool.
There you go.
I gotta redesign your mini because he's still like he's half naked. Like he's just a
That's
he's
okay,
like a
man.
sorcerer looking. I did base him sort of on Iron Man. I will say,
Oh,
like
he
the
looks
colors.
Oh, the
badass.
colors. Yeah, no, I see that now.
Because when I was Captain Americacra, I was like, "You're Iron Lung," so it's Iron Man.
Oh.
I was building.
If I'd
the
known that, I
Avengers.
would have gotten one of you charmed at some point. We're gonna have a Civil War arc in
That-
the first Rose Up Gauntlet.
There we go.
Oh my god!
But we both have weak ankles.
What if
We-
I get
it-
charmed?
Yeah.
Then you guys got to come
I
save
did
me.
decide for my happiest place in Toril game that I'm going to be running at LairCon that so there's got to be you got to go rescue your friend and get through the devil, but the friend is going to be the leader of the group, and it's going to be Captain Americacra. It's going to be Screeve Rogers.
Oh, nice.
Like he's the one, and that might be one of the ones you have to fight at the end. But
Oh,
so
dig it.
The
So yeah, no, Rose Up this year was great, and we learned from our mistakes last year. And
Mhm.
Ben, you were a champion of getting that done. And
it was my laptop. I think the battery fluked. I still don't understand exactly what happened, but the laptop battery died, so we didn't have the map playing to the TV.
But hey,
sometimes
we
We're going to
figured it
try a
out.
couple of things to remove the glare from that TV as well. So we have a couple things in the work.
the internet goes out 10 minutes before your live stream. Sometimes your laptop acts a fool.
Up in here, up in here.
Yeah.
Up in here, up in here.
But we also finished the Beyond the Feywild, and so
That's why we're here, baby.
That is why we're here.
yeah. So Nick, I'm curious because you told we got the platinum ending, correct?
Ooh,
That's what I described it as. Yeah. So you get that by figuring out, holy shit, Titania's in the tree, and getting her to come back and defeating Black Lotus, who was the spirit of what's her face Starim, who was one with the blade and was kind of the guiding voice of it.
Okay.
Crazy murder sword lady.
Pretty much, yes. Crazy murder sword lady is an apt description.
Was there a way to get Titania back without the summer wine?
Without the summer wine, it's possible, but it would have been much harder.
Okay.
And it would have required the use of resources that you didn't know at the time you had.
Go on.
Fair.
Well, if you recall, Max, we had a little bit of a chat about this, but
I know we did, but
yeah, when you looted, I believe you started the session by beginning to loot just as much as you could from Lysanthier. And the first thing that you pulled out was a scroll, at which point you just kind of went, okay, and put it in your pocket, and then it never came up. That was actually a scroll of miracle.
Oh, snap.
So, and I tried to set that up a couple of times where he's just pulled out this scroll that he bought and solved the problem that you guys threw at him. He did that.
Oh, yeah.
When you guys were escaping the fate of Shar.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I was trying to, kind of put that idea in your head. He's probably got some high-level spell scrolls in there, but it doesn't always work.
We did not take that bait well.
No, but we
Yeah,
also thought
fine.
we also thought in like the time stop scenario, like that's what he probably pulled out because we couldn't teleport, so we thought he time stopped.
It never occurred to me
Jeez.
that I was like, oh, he had a scroll of time stop. That's what I left with that. But I was like, oh, that's gone. Like
Yeah.
But it didn't occur to me that maybe that was like
even more
he
high,
had
even more
even
high
higher level stuff, like, you know, because like I don't know. We had him on the ropes, and I thought he was using all his best stuff, and I was just like, it's all gone now.
I mean, here's the thing: is like you can't do. You can have a bad guy with all of the tools in the toolbox, but he still can't. He still only gets one action. There's lots of different things that, and hey, it's a big reason why like the numbers favor the party when you're down to just beating on one dude at the end of a campaign. It's you know, he's only got one action to do things with. And I gave him that Scroll of Miracle, specifically as kind of a, we'll get into what would have happened if he would have tried to use it. But I don't think it would have gone the way he planned.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, by using the Scroll of Miracle that you didn't at the time know that you had, that could have been sufficient to bring Titania out if something terrible had happened to the Summer Wine, or if you'd lost it at an earlier point in your Mithranor adventures.
So let me interrupt here for 1 second, and we can move on to other endings. If I would have used it, it would have been Shar, I assume.
Yeah, Shar, if you specifically had answered it, used it, Shar would have answered your call.
And then, like, would there have been consequences to that call, or how would that have worked out?
Oh, almost certainly. But, you know, it's honestly, when you're down to like a big climactic finish like that, it probably would have basically worked as long as you'd requested something that was
and a million wishes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can always fuck it up, but if you hadn't screwed it up, then it probably would have just worked, and the consequences would have been more of a long-term.
Yes.
And now Illsworth is in black and white forever.
So Titania comes back as an archfey, but as arch shadowfell, like because it was Shar. I don't know. I was thinking about that. What would have happened if one of us drank the Summer Wine?
You would have gotten very drunk.
Okay.
Full stop.
And not turned into like some kind of crazy god. That was what I was imagining.
You guys
like,
okay.
We're gonna need. I sort of am.
Well, yeah.
Half elf.
Maybe something cool would have happened if you had done it, Justy, and I'd have
ancestry.
But I, you know, at this point, I figure you guys know a plot coupon when you see one.
For sure. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Hey,
it was one of those things that I was like,
I thought we were
worst comes to worst,
around
I'll chug this
after stack.
You know, yeah. And once again, if drinking it in the middle of a climactic battle with the bad guy is different from just drinking it on the way to Mithranor because you want to see what it does, obviously. But yeah, I'm sure I would have
taste. Just a little taste.
I could have made up something fun.
No, Tony, you're absolutely right, man. I mean, we were joking about it the whole time since we got it. We're like, man, how are we going to force feed this white stag a bottle of wine?
Yeah,
like,
we're just going to be running around the forest. Like, oh, there he is. Let's
go.
go.
That was an interesting one. I threw that in specifically to give you an idea of something else to do with it other than the thing that I designed it for.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, I tried to make an implicit trade-off there. Like, if you guys had chased down the silver stag or like spent more effort on locating the stag specifically, and reincarnated the form of the Fey King, then you could have other assets going in. But going into that final battle, you would not have been able to use the Summer Wine to get Titania awake in the tree again.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are the interesting parts. There's like, I kind of looked at the scale of endings in terms of what their long-term impact would be on the world.
Yeah.
And the long-term impact that you guys have is now the Summer Queen is back and is operating out of the ruins of Mithranor to advance her agenda in whatever's coming next. So, you know, that's not a bad state of affairs. The main three are still alive, still kicking, and still getting cool Fey powers. And there's a good Fey active in Cormanthier.
Yeah. Was the I have more of a question about like Lionel and his ties with the Queen Below. Like, so I my general understanding is he used to be a warlock of the Summer Court, but then switched his patron to the Queen Below because it suited him for his means of resurrecting Mithranor
and revenge,
and killing Elminster. Like, that was his big plan, right?
A pretty solid outline. Yeah. So what Lionel's deal is that yes, he was a warlock in service of the Summer Court. The Mithranor cataclysm happened, and then he just kind of he gave up on the Summer Court because they were wiped out by the same cataclysm that destroyed his people, or destroyed this essentially a nation. And he started just he wanted revenge for that. And really that's what it came down to. So mechanically he was multi-classed as a warlock and an Oath of Vengeance paladin. Is how I flavored him to make his mechanics work. And so he essentially, like, when Mithranor was destroyed, they're like all of the good intentions in him kind of failed at that point because they had failed to prevent the destruction of his people's country. So at that point, he only cared about avenging it. And part of that was making a crap ton of money from humans and using that money to finance an organization that will take action, and just getting what he needed to take direct action to avenge his people. So that's the game he's been playing. And, probably a factor in why he might hate a half-blood son so much.
We don't know a lot about Jastian's human mother, but
we don't.
I have some ideas that Nick and I have talked about briefly, but they never really came up in this. But I think that was it may become relevant at some point. So we're not gonna talk about it. But my thought was, you were talking about Titania like being a good fae in the ruins of Mithranor. Is there an inverse to that? Like, had Lionel won, would the Queen Below sort of be the archfey in charge of Mithranor? Was that part of his deal too?
Pretty much. I mean, like, the Queen Below is pretty straightforward in what she wants. She is a relatively small deal as far as the archfey goes, and she wants to expand her territory. She wants more people singing her praises, and she wants more authority over both the Feywild and the mortal realm. So she's an expansionistic power, and she is happy to barter with somebody like Lysanthier. He's convenient. And honestly, he has a pretty similar attitude about her. This is an expedient way of getting back my warlock powers that I will need to avenge my people. So it was kind of mercenary on both their ends.
But interesting. I recall after Elf Court, when we were like shown the cosmos, that there was like, the idea of powers being created in contrast. And so like there is also something else happened then and there that is well outside of our understanding. And that's just something that like came to my mind as well. I was like sitting here listening to you speak. I'm like, oh yeah, that.
That's kind of what I live for in terms of my lore. Just get you wondering and imagining what kind of crazy cockamamie crap I'm going to be throwing at you down the line.
Go back and watch Elf Law and Order if you want to check out that. It's episode like 50 something, but it's a good one.
Stories.
You can see these are the stories. Gung gung. And ga 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 ga. Oh my god, that should be the level 3 video. Ga 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 ga. Just a Law and Order like PeakD&D episode
with the rules lawyer.
With the rules, oh my god, the rules lawyer, Law and Order. Oh my god, it'd be amazing. Okay,
what a fun character. We can cameo in all sorts of things later.
So funny. Oh my god, it would be so funny. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, what else? what would have had to happen to get us the lower tiered endings?
So
go through the tiers.
A lot of the worst endings involve losing the fights. Losing the fight with either Lionel in the while the tower is rising up, or losing to Black Lotus below once the tower fell. I think, to get the absolute worst one, I think
we would have been killed outright and dead.
Yeah, well. Probably.
The door would have stopped.
Not to say that these characters would be forever removed from history, because the neat thing about the Dark Moon Blade is that it eats souls when it kills people. So,
interesting.
Had you all lost, I could still narrate what happened and kind of set the stage for stuff I want to do in subsequent campaigns. So, I was pretty pleased with that.
Yeah. And then what would have been like the fallout? So like, okay, our souls would have been eaten by the sword, and events to be seen later. What would have been like the geopolitical global consequences?
Which sword? The Lysanthier family blade or the other one?
The Dark Moon.
Okay.
The Dark Moon eats souls.
Gotcha.
The Lysanthier moon blade doesn't eat souls. Most moon blades don't. It's not a normal moon blade thing.
Gotcha.
But let me see here. So,
yes, geopolitical stuff now.
Yeah, the geopolitical stuff. It's going to depend on which of the exact endings we end up in. On the lower end of the spectrum, on the lowest end of the spectrum, you fail to stop Lionel, so he succeeds in raising up the ruins of Thultanthar just long enough to crash it into Shadowdale. And a lot of people get killed, and huge disruptions to magic in that area. And honestly, it kind of becomes another Myth Draenor almost, another ruin that's full of horribly dangerous stuff and magic going absolutely crazy. And it just happens to be parked on Elminster's front porch.
And I assume, like much like Thultanthar falling on Myth Draenor, which had planar implications. Similarly, like that would have echoed and ripped things through the plane.
Exactly, because Elminster is, canonically one of the most powerful wizards in the Forgotten Realms. I have to imagine that he's got some crazy shit going on in his, in his house. And so, like, smashing two, again, contrasting types of magic into each other would create unpredictable things. Would definitely go nuts. I think, let's see here. Oh yeah, actually. So in the worst ending that doesn't involve us just deciding that YouTube is stupid and stopping playing altogether, we
kicking my dice and going home.
This one you get by failing to beat Lysanther in the Mythal Tower. He completes his mission, traps your souls in the Dark Moon. So the Enclave crashes down. It hits Elminster's tower. Stuff goes bananas for a minute, and the tower, despite having crashed into the earth, it begins falling through space and reality, and through different planes of existence. So it ultimately ends up with from your perspective, you guys end up hanging out inside a sword with no physical bodies, buried like hilt deep in sand in a world you've never seen, and being found by a 3-creen who's just like looking at the weird ass sword that it's made out of expensive metal he found in the desert. And that sets us up for adventures in the world of Athos. That gets Dark Sun back into the canon continuity, the Dark Sun campaign setting.
Hell yeah.
So the first campaign I ever played in, like in middle school, when I infiltrated that group, was in Dark Sun, and I was a Thry-Creen
at computer camp.
At computer camp, correct? Yes. I passed all my deception checks. and bluffed my way into that group. But like I've always had a special place for Thri-kreen in my heart, and it's actually something I had thought about within the last week or so, maybe the last month. Just be like, Nick, like, could I be a Thri-kreen? Like completely with yeah. No, totally. Like obviously with all the flaws intact.
Sure.
But no, sweet.
No, yeah. So honestly, I wanted each of these potential endings to have something totally bonkers happen that expands the scope of the world. In some way, that the platinum ending is kind of the tamest.
I was gonna say,
When everything turns out fine, it's actually now we've got the Summer Court back, and she's got 3 powerful agents, one of whom might also actually be working for Shar. So isn't that interesting? But in some ways, it's kind of like the tamest and least crazy way to conclude things. With the absolute worst one, I tried to like make it really strange and interesting, kind of take some of the sting out of losing that fight.
And I would also say that the platinum ending, and I want maybe all the other endings would also introduce this element. But one thing that we talked about was the idea of the obelisks sort of came into play. Right. You've introduced that idea.
That's an important thing. It will continue to be important through probably several campaigns if I'm not stopped.
Yeah. So and no spoilers, because I think it'll come into play in our other campaign. But like, would that have happened in all the endings?
Most. This is one where I couldn't use the obelisk because it explicitly involves you flying away from the obelisk, but every other ending basically involves the obelisk in some way and involves triggering it to do something crazy and weird.
Well, let's hear about some of those other endings then. I'm intrigued. Right. If Dark Sun was it the darkest timeline?
The darkest timeline is Dark Sun. So I guess stepping up from that, we have the Copper ending. This involves Lysanthier surviving that fall with positive hit points. A thing that did not happen.
Okay.
You guys beat him up pretty good. He was not able to do anything but croak out some anger at you when you guys regain consciousness. But this is dependent on him being awake and alive and still able to fight and winning the fight that comes from that. Down in the root chamber with the obelisk, when everything else has been thwarted. So this is kind of his lowest point. So this is essentially in this ending, he strikes you down with the Dark Moon, as in the previous one. Your souls get absorbed by the blade, as in the previous one. He, however, has essentially gone mad with rage and grief at this point. And since he's now furious at the Dark Moon for failing to give him the power he needed to do what he imagined, he stabs it into the tree roots and breaks the sword. So in this case, you guys end up stuck with Titania inside the soul tree. And so
that would have been crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But the soul tree is called that specifically because it is an offshoot of the world tree in Evermeet. It's grown from the same stock. It's a cutting from that, and it represents the elven connection to Arvandor and basically the collective soul of elvenkind. So what he's done is he's literally wounded the very soul of his people. In his rage and grief. Kind of a literal version of what he was metaphorically doing by pursuing this kind of vengeance, this indiscriminate destructive vengeance. So, and he also gets covered in corrupted tree sap. So Lionel becomes a new kind of undead monster. And is and ends up being a threat down the line, like a creature of vengeance and anger and madness and tarnished gold, just wandering the world and committing acts of destruction wherever he can get away with.
Wow.
And the kind of hook that we have there is that you guys are trapped in the sword, which is now broken off inside the tree. And you guys are kind of like, your consciousness is eventually going to disperse because the sword is broken and the magic's are no longer maintaining you guys. And then Shar comes along with a deal. So that's where I stopped writing, because then we're getting into stories I haven't written yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's the copper ending. That's the second.
Wow.
Okay.
The silver ending, you get this by everything proceeds as it did. You have the fight with Black Lotus, who's possessing Lysanthire's body, and then losing that fight.
Okay.
So she, once again, your souls are pulled from you by this, essentially what's become an avatar of the Dark Moon. And you witness her attempting to utilize the obelisk in some magical way without anyone to stop her. You are sort of watching as she's working magic on this obelisk, and then she notices that there's a piece missing. And it exactly too late for her to stop doing what she's doing.
Yeah.
And what happens then is you are, this happened a little bit, you are cycled between different places on the world where there is an obelisk.
Yep. I remember
and
that.
There is a huge magical backlash, which just absolutely annihilates Lysanthire's body. And lacking a body to possess, she is driven from the sword and also destroyed. So basically, what happens is there's like a transplanar, there's like an explosion that's also randomly teleporting through several points on the earth. The sword goes spiraling off into places unknown with your guys' soul still inside it. And then we wait.
And the Thrycreen shows up. And
that one was close, actually.
Yeah, this one is like the sword is in a random place on Toril. You guys are living in a sword, and the sword is somewhere, and that gives us plenty of opportunities to find interesting ways to work you into the next narratives.
Yeah.
Sounds like a premise for a buddy comedy. Like every three friends stuck in a sword.
3 friends stuck in a sword.
That one almost happened. That was close.
That one was pretty close to happening. Yeah, she had you on the ropes there a few times.
Black Lotus was tough. That was a tough fight.
Yeah.
Especially after everything else that
like
had happened.
The only way we won was because we poured the summer wine.
Yeah, so, I mean, I basically designed the fight so that you guys would be, hanging on by a thread and looking for creative solutions.
Yeah. So let me interject something real quick, if I may. I'm curious, so you've referenced Black Lotus. Like, what stat block, or like, is Black Lotus a creature in the world that you took, or is that something you made up, or?
So now it's part of the lore. The Dark Moon Blade is an artifact that exists there. It's in manuals dating back to at least 2nd edition. And it's Black Lotus has always been a part of that. It is a daughter of the Starim family who essentially she awakened the power of the blade to steal souls, and it ultimately claimed her soul when she, when her time with it was done. So she's been inside the sword ever since then, and she is what gives it its intelligence. It is an intelligent weapon. It has its own thoughts and feelings about things, and those are essentially her.
Got you.
So she's essentially become the Dark Moon itself.
Got you. Cool.
Crazy.
See here. Yep. The now we're on to the
Our
golden
favorite.
and Electrum, the golden and Electrum endings.
Yes.
Which are essentially variations on you beat her, but not in the way that you did to get the platinum ending.
All Electrum all the time.
Yeah.
All
so the
Electrum
Electrum
all the
ending,
time.
you get that by here's the thing. If you get the Electrum ending by tricking Black Lotus into attacking the obelisk with the Dark Moon, into hitting it with that sword.
Huh.
Because the obelisk will as
destroy,
you witness,
yes,
destroy anything that messes with it.
Yes.
So the blade instantly shatters and it kills her. She's dead now.
Yeah.
But in so doing,
99 souls get released.
Well, yeah, you've mashed a powerful magical artifact into another powerful magical artifact, and then it goes. The obelisk goes crazy again, and the specific way that it goes crazy is probably the most interesting part of Rime of the Frost Maiden that I just decided to steal. So a thing that can happen with these obelisks, apparently, is that they can mess with time. So in the course of destroying the Dark Moon against the obelisk, releasing all of this arcane magic, where it got its and causing the obelisk to go haywire, it would have sent you back in time to Thultanthar at its peak.
Whoa.
Even crazier. You guys are in the ancient Netherall times, and then a street performer who's entertaining the folk of Thultanthar he starts giving Jastian the stink eye, then pulls him aside and demands him to know why he's holding all of his power.
Whoa, that's insane. I love everything about that.
So
Ed Robinson's in the
been
chat,
great.
you guys.
Oh, what's up, Ed?
Ed, how you doing?
I've been chatting with him while we've been chatting. While
I
Nick's been
love
talking.
Ed. I can't wait to hang out with Ed this next weekend.
It's gonna be great.
Dude, that's a crazy. That's
sounds
a crazy
so much fun.
ending.
That sounds like
That is an
would have been
amazing.
great.
So when I
Could you imagine?
Like I've got.
Did
I've got
any
a
of
little
us
bit
have that
sentimental
idea?
attachment to that one.
Did any of us
No.
have that idea?
No, not at all.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But it was a thing that would have worked if you'd had the idea.
Yeah.
And it's, I write endings around the things that I can foresee you doing. I would have had to write another one if you'd done something else.
Of course. But you could have.
I'm sure something crazy would have happened.
Yeah. But like all of these endings have a triggering event. So you could have easily, well, I shouldn't say easily, you could have quickly done the calculus of like, oh, how good or bad is this? And like, oh,
exactly.
all right.
How close is this to what I envisioned?
Yeah. Like, we'll give them silver.
Yeah, no, I've got a sentimental attachment to the Electrum Ending
Yeah,
because
that one's awesome.
When I was I think you guys probably remember this. I was just struck by a Fey mood one day and got a piece of paper and just wrote out like a whole freaking meta plot.
Oh yeah, no,
It said
totally
like there were
that.
arrows, there were things. He had like extra papers, and you put it all together. It was like Charlie in Sunny, always Sunny.
Pepe,
and he's
Pepe Lopez.
Yeah.
The thing that got me to that place was looking through. I was just reading Rime of the Frost Maiden at the time, and I made it to that part, and I thought, that's so cool and fun. Hey now.
It said like circled red ink, like sexy goblin, and then it was
no, that was my regular notes.
How far back in time was that then?
Oh, dude, I remember when that was. That was when we were deciding to, because originally our plan was to finish Into the Fey and then start Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Yeah, we were just gonna do Rime of the Frost Maiden,
right? And I remember pitching, because like both you, Tony, and Ben were talking about wanting to keep these characters a bit longer. And so then like the idea of well, what if we just like do an epilogue and use these characters to get the world to the point where Nick wanted it to be? And like some point in the midst of that conversation, there was like the quintessential like eureka moment, and like Nick hopped up and it was off.
I guess my question was Thultanthar. How far back was that in the game?
In game time, I think it's about 1100 years ago.
Holy heck.
Possibly more. I might be lowballing that actually, but yeah. No, it's you would be back at the apex of the Netherall Empire before a bad thing happened that made them go away forever.
So like before they were even banished to the Shadowfell.
Yeah,
but
before
like
they were
still
even
part of.
Yeah, that was Thultanthar's specific contingency plan. They managed to shift their city into the Shadow Plane in its entirety while it was falling.
That's
so
insane.
That was their ripcord.
Okay, that
God,
worked
that would have
out
been so
sort
cool.
of well for them. I mean, they still fell to the ground and died in the end, but it happened several thousand years later.
No, it's funny. You just described the Electrum Ending, and I have a weird fascination with it now.
No, it's so interesting, right? Like that little
one would have
thing
been crazy.
Yeah,
I would love to have seen it.
Don't worry, we're going to get at least that bonkers as we get further into this crazy.
Oh, for sure.
That's fair.
For sure.
I'm just imagining, Gord, Jastian, and Illensworth 1,100 years in the past. Like, what do we do now?
And, I was thinking about interesting ways that could play out. And it's
it's kind of like stop the Kennedy assassination, right? Like, stop that from happening. Stop from whatever we were trying to fix aftermath. Stop it from happening to begin with.
So, and the interesting storytelling part about that is that we can have that manifest in subsequent stories through the form of large changes to the status quo. Like, for example, if there's an order of dwarf paladins whose whole ass job is to find the enemies of Oberon and beat them to death with hammers, that's a thing that could exist in the modern day. So from this ancient tradition of hammer wielding dwarves who dig Oberon, there was a lot of
hammers shaped like various vegetables.
The Bone Palace appears in the middle of Waterdeep's historical district. It is a deeply valued and respected cultural heritage.
I didn't even think about that. Get to the founding of cities.
Yeah, exactly.
The founder of Waterdeep's entertainment district, Jastian Chalisanthir.
Jastian's Entertainment Company, LLC.
Oh, that's super weird. Yeah, Illensworth worked for set up some sort of place in Airedale so we wouldn't have to live on the streets, etc., etc. Crazy.
And it turns out mead was invented 600 years earlier.
Now I just want a mace, and the mace is shaped like a turnip.
Respected well for their creation of mead.
Turnip maces. That's what you want. Okay.
Yep,
I dig it.
Like the turnips from Mario, old school Mario. Yeah.
You could do that.
But just dwarves just swinging maces around.
All I'm
Ewoks.
thinking about is vegetable themed weaponry now.
Yep.
We're gonna do a whole armory.
We should.
That's what I want.
It'd be great. Gord's armory.
Mall.
Gord's armory.
I could see a corn mall being one. I could see a
every wand is a celery stick.
It would be an asparagus spear.
Oh, there you go.
Jesus.
Oh man, it writes itself, guys. Asparagus. I hate you so much, man.
Maces like turnips, maces like Brussels sprouts, maces like potatoes.
Lots of really interesting themed maces. The vegetable knights.
Yes.
Oh my god. Be amazing.
And after that you just have the golden ending, which would be you get from beating Black Lotus but not being able
to get Titania
not being able to revive Titania. So what happens at that point is she realizes in the last round before she's going to die that she's going to perish, and it tries to do stuff with the obelisk before expiring, because now it's Brett Conjuration is her only hope of victory.
Ed has a question for Ben.
And
I saw that.
Oh yeah, what do we got?
No, you finish what you were saying.
No, that just causes the obelisk to go berserk, and the party survives, but their adventuring careers are interrupted by the aftermath.
Yeah.
So what happens to Gord is he gets hit with this magic pulse that's full of this cyan lightning from the runes.
Great.
And he is petrified into a statue. So he becomes a magical statue that keeps evil at bay, that is down in this root chamber. And he becomes a sacred icon to the Duragar who are living down there.
Awesome.
Yes.
Jastian
oh my god.
gets transformed into a bird,
obviously,
and is hanging out in the soul tree. And Robin Goodfellow is walking around in Jastian's body, saying, "Don't worry, dude. I'll be right back for you. I got some stuff I gotta fix now that I got fingers again. Be right back.
Got some stuff I gotta take care of first.
Freaky Friday, but with a Fey
I feel like had that happened, you would have been ridden hard and put away wet.
Yeah. I would have got my body back and be like, where did these tattoos come from?
How did I get all these diseases? And what happened to me?
What is wrong with me? This is
how do I have dire syphilis?
Yeah, exactly. And why do I suddenly have a craving for like insert substance?
Oh yeah, I'm a were-rat for sure. I mean, there's just no.
Hey man, I brought your body back, but you're kind of a lycanthrope now.
Yeah, so now you have like lycanthrope, like 4 different kinds of lycanthropy. So it's great.
Love it.
Nice.
And,
so Ed, Eagle Eye Ed noticed that we changed the tokens for the last few episodes.
Yep. Oh yeah,
on our player thing. That was
the nameplates.
I have those minis. We didn't end up playing with them, but they are going on our shelf of honor.
Oh, nice.
For our D&D ideas videos. But so Gord is basically like half barbarian in this world. And Jastian, like I made Jastian has like the scar with a glowing green eldritch eye.
Yep.
Now and then and Illinsworth is like
black and white essentially, like pallor. And so that was, I would like to get those painted up and printed out at some point, but yeah, so good on you, Ed. I think you're like one of the only people that's noticed that.
Yeah, well spotted.
So what happens to Illinsworth in the
sort
gold
of just
ending?
to reflect the journey these guys have been on over the past year and a half of our life. But
that's true. Yeah, a lot of stuff in Beyond the Feywild just changed the physical appearance of your characters as much as it did,
Yeah.
And I like that in the story. I liked that idea.
But as a fan of allegory, I'm all about that shit.
Yeah.
And so I wanted our outward characters to reflect what the change that had occurred over the course of. I mean, we started off so sweet and innocent in that HOA meeting outside of Airedale,
which no one's seen.
Another boring day.
Yeah, no one's seen that. We've just talked about it.
But
Session Zero sort of exists.
No, that is. It did start at an HOA meeting. It all started.
Along with all great adventures, yes. Started at an HOA meeting.
And Tony mentioned this. I am curious, what would have happened to Illinsworth in the gold ending?
Yeah.
Illinsworth, yes. So you would have gotten flung bodily into the Shadowfell.
Well, that checks out.
And you would have been helped to your feet by a familiar shade.
I wonder.
Grognak, yes. Yep. And the two of you would have, basically for Illinsworth, it would have been, come on, little buddy, we got a mission to do. I'll explain on the way.
Nice.
So, with the gold ending, I wanted to provide like an explanation for why you guys aren't adventuring right now when the status quo of the new campaign drops.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want to just say, and then they all died. So I tried to find ways that got you off the board in ways that were interesting or hopefully compelling. So like the difference in that was just getting the Fey Queen in the room who could stop the magical backlash from the obelisk. That's how it would have shaken out in the broad strokes.
I just picture a lot of Dwergar like potato shall provide. Potato shall provide.
Potato.
Yeah.
Yes, Gord. Potato indeed.
Gord, when dwarfs farm root vegetables, do they is it like an orchard for them? Are they like growing down from the ceiling, from the roof of the chamber, and you're just kind of reaching up and picking them?
Well, no, because they would now. I guess the Dwergar would, but like my story was that what was my backstory? It's that like I didn't quite our family was associated with in the Sunset Mountains, I think was the Dwarven. I think that's where it was.
That sounds familiar. Where your Gold Dwarf family
we were like, we didn't. I think my parents didn't like being in the mountains or the caves, so they partitioned off. But they made like a deal that like on the farmland they will create the like the vegetable farm and the food for them, so then they can come down and we like supplied them food for the most part.
dwarven societies aren't really designed to.
So we're like at the foothills.
Like
we're like right on the foothills, like nearby, but we're not in society proper.
You're farming specifically because you don't want to be underground. Okay.
Yeah. It was like my thought was like set like 60-70% went to them, and then 20-30% we sold to passerbys or caravans that went through or something like that. So
it makes perfect sense.
You put the most attractive beats on the top. Those are the money beats.
Yes.
Of course.
And then once they purchase something at your stand, you reach behind the money beats into the beat graveyard.
Yeah.
Just let me ladle you out some beats there.
Well, you don't want the display models.
No.
You don't want the display models. Gotta keep them looking good.
Exactly. Exactly. That's super fascinating. Like I said, I really love that peek behind the curtain of how
it all could have went.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's really fun. I try to, I have a broad strokes idea of where the story is going based on the final encounter. Sometimes it's as simple as here's what happens if they win, here's what happens if they lose. But I had a little extra time on this one, so I just fleshed out a few different possibilities based on the pieces that were on the board.
I think. Go ahead, Tony.
I can't remember if we answered this question. When we had the dragon, how long did that last that we had control of it?
An hour.
Okay. So we could have...
We had a whole hour!
We could have had it hit the door, and my carrot hammer would have been fine.
Yeah, it was like, I tried to make a situation where kicking down the door wasn't contagious, but... It probably could have, the dragon could have probably just destroyed the door without much
And then
trouble.
we could have left it to go, but it could have had like 2 rounds of combat and maybe helped us out.
Granted, there was a month of actual time between the time that door came down and the time we actually went in it, like
That's
to
fair.
play in that.
Oh,
piece.
touche. Yes,
I did mention I had extra time.
Had we, like in that session, just blasted that door down, it would have been a far less cool looking encounter, because we didn't have that tower. I don't have it. It's over at the studio.
That's fair.
The tower piece built. Like I didn't have that
figured
finished.
right.
That's fair.
I also we had no idea how long that dragon was going to be hanging out.
We didn't.
That's true.
And
you guys did. I was careful not to tell you what the duration was.
And I felt like the queen below, who was inside the door, could have dispelled that pretty easily, and then we would have had a door and the dragon.
You don't get to win in a cutscene. Just the same as I don't like to, have you lose in a cutscene. I don't let you win in a cutscene. You're going to work for it.
Yeah. No, we made the right decision. But
I think you
was
probably
curious.
Yeah.
But Tony, if you would like to blame me for losing your carrot hammer, I am happy to take that fall.
I don't blame you.
I gave you a scroll of miracle to try and fix it.
I 100% blame the door.
Well, I didn't even think about using the scroll of miracle to fix the carrot hammer.
Fix and
cool.
upgrade.
It'd be like this. It's made out of shards, but it's held together with lightning. It'd be so cool.
That would have been sweet.
No, it's the scroll of miracle was another thing. By the time that we got to it, it didn't end up mattering. But
that's
so the scroll of miracle was if Lionel had ended up in a situation where he still had turns but realized that he was going to lose if he didn't change things, I was going to have him use it while the tower was still airborne to summon Highly Selene and the silver one. Sorry, it's been a while since I've looked up these names. But yeah, the 2 goddesses that he worships that we've seen recurring a few times. Had he done that and attempted to beseech for a miracle on his behalf, they would have told him no, and then the tower would have fallen because they smote it. Just kind of echoing what she ended up saying at the end. That what Lysanthir stands for is not the Elven way, and that he has become something that the Seldarine has to oppose.
Holy shit! So what? So sorry, you just blew my mind. Because we were victorious in Elf Court,
yes,
that miracle wouldn't have
you
worked.
Refuted his argument in that miracle preemptively. So again, we didn't end up using this interesting piece, but I did try to set it up. I did try to carry it through.
Super cool.
No. It's like I don't like it when I don't like having dungeons just for the sake of having dungeons. I think it should set something up. It should tell you more about the characters or the world or something, and it should help you when you have to bring everything that you've learned together and face the final encounter of the campaign. So that's one way in which I do that. You gave you the chance to do something back 2 levels ago that matters in the final climax.
So then, it wouldn't have worked for him. Shar would have shown up for me.
Shar would have shown up for you.
I mean, Gord had dual allegiance, and Jastian. So I'm curious, had either Ben or Tony used that scroll, who would have?
I would imagine Helm would have come from me.
Yeah, for Tony, it would have definitely been Helm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is his single greatest commitment, spiritually speaking.
Yeah.
Jastian probably would have had a Fey. It probably would have been Robin Goodfellow temporarily, and I would have flavored that like the miracle, kind of giving him some of his power back temporarily,
right?
And allowing him to make use of that in some helpful way that probably also isn't super well thought out and ends up being a little bit comedic. So that was my thought, and I tried not to try and anticipate what you guys would say with miracle. But just kind of roll with what you wanted to, because that's kind of my philosophy when it comes to things like wish and miracle and those high level I want thing to happen spells. Is I just take what you say you want to happen and I take that meaning on and I try to bring that about in a way that's consistent with the spell and with the person, with the being who's granting that power.
I mean, I have certainly played with some DMs that like punctuation matters. So typically the rule for wishes, think like Hemingway, like get the semicolons out, get the commas out of there, like the less
simple declarative.
Yes.
Hashtag rules lawyer.
Yeah, you got to think about who your audience is. Like if you're getting a wish from an Ifrit, they're going to try to screw you over. Like, you know what I mean? Or like somebody who might have something against you. If it's a scroll, it's a little different, I guess. But you got to think about maybe where that scroll came from. And then how powerful that magic would be, I would think. That's how I would sort of run that.
It makes sense.
I mean, you know, like, if this is like from a very exclusive magic shop, it's still sort of a generic, like, well, it's got to fulfill a very large magical request, but it's probably limited in some way because it's a scroll that you can just buy, you know. That probably he came across it, I'm sure, by all kinds of illicit means, but
I mean, you know, show me an honestly made fortune.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's interesting. I don't know. It's been, I mean, fixing a hammer or upgrading a cool hammer, I think would be a great use for that scroll.
Oh, through and through. Again, like,
matter of fact, we're just going to say that's what happens off screen, right? Like,
give me a Vorpal.
He gets his carrot hammer.
Give me a Vorpal carrot hammer.
Yeah, no, I'm totally all for that. And like I said, like we didn't even remember we had it, so we didn't even know we had it. So it sounds like getting Gord his hammer back is a perfect use for that thing.
Works for me.
Like my big takeaway here, and like anyone who is telling stories and wrapping up a campaign, like the idea of the gradient ending, and the like degrees of success, is
that's so much more interesting than a binary to me. You know, I think it's just, success and failure are two states that we already know about, but rarely does our life, does anything in our life really look like that?
Yeah.
Like anything we set out to accomplish, we have grades of success on, and I don't see why the game should be any different. And, you know, you create space for all sorts of really interesting things to happen that way.
Yeah, absolutely. What made you choose Dark Sun for the Darkest Timeline?
Because
it's awesome.
Well, I also have a sentimental attachment to it. So I cut my teeth on the SSR video games. Those were my introduction to Dungeons and Dragons. And I mentioned Baldur's Gate a lot because that was a huge influence on me. And that's the one that really got me thinking, I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. But the absolute first one I ever played was Dark Sun Shattered Lands for MS.
That game was brutal.
It was extremely brutal, and I cheated my ass off in order to play it. But I really enjoyed the experience. And that was, I didn't even realize until years later that what I was playing was based on the Dungeons and Dragons engine. And that made me like really get interested in tabletop gaming. So I've like, I've got a long history with D&D video games and how that translates into like wanting to play D&D on top. And a big part of my journey as a DM has been like figuring out what works in a video game and doesn't work in tabletop and vice versa. And so I just a little bit of whimsy on my part. It's like, all right, let's bring it to Athos. Because A, it's a game that we don't have a source book for yet, at least as far as I know. And B, because it's very different from the rest of the Dungeons and Dragons kind of like canon, all of the different campaign settings. There used to be some that were a little closer to it in feel, but I feel like it's one that's really withstood it. And it's that, kind of gritty sand, desert world.
Yeah.
That where things are where everything is fucked all the time.
Yeah.
And there are just so many problems in need of solving. I don't know, it's a world that provokes my imagination. Well, and I built Max, the first game we played together, the first time you played one of my games, that world was heavily influenced by and it's
the Gladiator one where we started.
The Gladiator. You were there for a little
I played that one for a little bit.
You did, yeah. I think that was happening during a not good time to be Ben.
Yeah,
kind of scheduling. But
I had to like deuces. I got to go deal with my world.
Yeah. So it's been a huge influence on me. So I'm always like down to pay respects to the ones that came before, right?
Absolutely, man. No, I love like the magics. The Defiler Preserver system is still something that I think about.
No, it's a super cool idea. It's a cool take on magic, right?
I think so too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Dark Sun is the darkest timeline. Correct.
I mean, it's pretty bleak. Everyone
Ed also agrees.
Everyone has goatees, and
goatee world.
I'm missing an arm.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild. But yeah, they haven't. I think they will do Dark Sun, but I'm a little bit trepidatious of them doing it because I mean they did so well with Spelljammer, and now Dragonlance is coming back and has only gotten me less excited about Dragonlance. But
I had a friend who was super into Dragonlance, who like read all the books, who like loved Dragonlance and referenced Takesis and stuff in his games, and it's like I just never got it, and that's fair enough. I'm not trying to like shit on it, but like it was just never something I was super into. Honestly, I can't believe we're getting a Dragonlance book before we get a freaking World of Greyhawk book. It feels a little.
You think Greyhawk feels like a more natural?
I mean, yeah, but I think I mean, I get that we have Mordenkaiden's Tome of Foes, we have Igwilv's Demonomicon, or Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, or whatever they're calling it these days. But no, that is true. Igwilv is Tasha, but it's it just feels like so strange that it's been a while since we've gotten Dragonlance stuff. That's a fair assessment, but I kind of feel like Greyhawk's kind of the OG, man. You gotta show some respect. Just give us like a pamphlet on the Free City somewhere.
Please, yeah. I'm just Ed. I'm worried about what they're gonna do to Dragonlance, because the second edition is my favorite version of Dragonlance that exists. Like the 3.5 is not terrible. I like 3.5 Dragonlance too.
Not bad.
But they did second. They did Greyhawk in second edition. I think they did Dragonlance too. Am I crazy? No,
I think that's right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Spelljammer was. I got the books and I have and I read them, and some of it's fun, but it's just a lot of missteps in that they had to like very quickly backtrack on, and they were like, oh yeah, no, that's not, and then anyway, it was very strange, but so it made me less excited for Dragonlance, but I love Dragonlance. Some of the minis they have coming out for the Dragonlance are pretty dope. I'm excited about those. But
Dragonlance is a mini friendly kind of game setting. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
You have like, dragon people and people riding dragons. There's a lot of cool minis in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the but they've previewed a few of the sets you can get and stuff. So I'm sort of excited about that. Because I've started collecting the WizKids like pre-painted miniatures now. So I'm just.
How are they going to fix Kender? As written.
Oh, how are they? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. So Kender, right? Kender are written in such a way as to incentivize you to be the worst player imaginable. And I'm just curious to see how they're going to address that. Because, I mean, it's just like, ooh, Kender are they go around, borrow stuff all the time. They don't understand personal property, and they don't understand when people ask them to not steal their stuff. And it gives everybody who wants to be a dick at the table a sentence in a book they can point to and say, I'm just playing my character. So I'm curious as to whether they will do any reflavoring on Kender just to try and like head that off at the pass. I don't know.
So here's one thing I will say, like we started this conversation talking about trading me for your lovely wife, Nick Michelle, down at LayerCon. And I mean, I got to watch her play her Aarakocra, who had no concept of property for that like short-lived before Corey moved. And like, I really thought that she did a good job.
No, she did. Yeah. She was doing she was doing an equal exchange in her mind that did not map to the capitalist system in which all of our characters live. So, I mean, that's a fun take on it. And there are ways to do it that don't result in you being a dick to everybody at your table.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know, maybe this is just a bad experience I had.
Well, I think also like in lots of instances in society, like it only takes one to ruin it for everybody. And so
now Kender are I want to play a jerk.
Right. Exactly. Right.
I want to disregard people's boundaries and claim ignorance later. And that's not
it takes a very experienced player to do that correctly.
Yeah.
I think. Ed just said he's seen it happen twice successfully in 40 years.
Well, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I've got a sample size of 2 for Kender characters, and I did not have a good experience with either of them. But,
fair.
My experience is not every experience. That's fair.
Yeah. Well, we've been going for longer than an hour.
Yeah.
We got a whole 90 minutes.
We got a whole 90 minutes, baby. Well, we started a little late.
Yeah.
Because the internet was down.
It's all right. It was fun. Like, I appreciate it that, Nick, I really appreciate, like, I'm not sure I would have learned all of the work that you put into it and heard of all of these endings were it not for, like, live streaming on this. Because,
I'm super excited because I get to talk about all the stuff I didn't use.
Yeah.
Because I'm really proud of some of these ideas.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
That's always the tricky bit, right? It's like if you want to write 5 good endings, then there's 4 good endings you just have to leave on the table.
Yeah. No, so it's super so I appreciate you sharing all your hard work with us and putting it in. Honestly.
Thanks for asking me questions about my cockamamie story ideas. Give me permission to rant about them for an hour.
No, all
well,
the
thanks
endings
everyone.
Are super interesting. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Any one of them, how it played out would have been awesome.
I think how it played out will be pretty awesome, and I hope that we have awesome adventures going forward.
Yeah,
awesome. Thanks everyone for checking out this live stream. Thanks guys for continuing to play games with me and here on our YouTube channel. If you're catching this on the replay, we're PeakD&D, and we have a YouTube channel. You can watch all sorts of videos. Next week, we'll be in Pensacola, Florida for LayerCon coming up. We're going to be playing some D&D, hanging out with some D&D nerds and our good friends. But we do have a video coming out on Saturday, another D&D Ideas, which is Max and my videos that we could check out, and then we will have, I think we'll have a level 3 video coming out after that when we get back, and then possibly, and then we're starting our new campaign at the end of this month. So we have campaign 2, PeakD&D, as of yet unnamed, but we will have some things going on.
Yeah, I feel like the name will come. I just want to say, Ed, thank you for showing up. And
Ed,
yes.
Don't go gentle.
Yes.
Appreciate you being here, Ed. Thanks for joining us in chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back next week. Like and subscribe, do all the things, all that stuff. We out. PeakD&D. Peace.